Hey y'all, I'm Courtney,
And I'm Sarah,
and this is Bodice Tipplers,
the podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
and then we drink about it.
This episode is brought to you by Crushing It by Lorelai Parker, published by Kensington Books. This is a romantic comedy. It's got a second chance romance and a love triangle, which I know is right up some of y'all's alley. It's about a game developer named Sierra, which is like kind of funny if you're my age, who runs into her ex-crush from college at a diary slam where she just read out all of her old diary entries about how hot that she thought he was. So it's got a great hook to it. Evidently, she also has the option of the bartender who also went to college with her. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it did come out at the end of June, so it's available wherever you get your books. Go pick it up. Hey, y'all.
Hello, hey y'all.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm here. It's
Terrible.
hot. So I think that's part of it is my brain is halfway cooked in South Carolina summer. That's just super oppressive. But other than that, I am okay. How are you?
It's really the humidity. It's just, you
Yeah.
know. No, I adopted the world's worst quarantine dog, so world's worst quarantine dog. It continues to be. We almost had to go to the emergency vet. No, everything is fine.
Oh gosh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, this dog has been a constant source of adventure and entertainment because I get updates about crypto constantly. And
You
the
wouldn't
dog-
believe what fucking crypto did.
Not really a dog, it's like an alien, so
Well, she's feeling better now.
that is good to hear. So what are we talking about this week, Sarah?
Well, this week we are reading, I picked up a first edition, just because I happened to see it, of These Old Shades by Georgette. So it's a classic of the genre, but if you are triggered by huge age gaps, weirdly flippant discussion of people having terrible histories of miscarriage and infant death, people goading each other into suicide at parties.
Yeah. Also male tights. Male
A lot of
tights.
male tights.
The word chicken skin put together.
As it applies to fans that men have.
An overabundance of just French. There's a lot of just random French. And then also pastels.
Yeah. Kidnappings.
Kidnappings.
The
The idea that you can tell the class of that someone is just by the way that they look.
Yeah.
And
That's a true attractive person to be lower class.
and then also just hoydens wielding swords and chasing around their future brother-in-law.
Yeah, well, that's just hot. That's just hot.
So,
But I mean, the more I think about it, the shittier. We'll talk about the plot. But there's somebody in this who switched his babies at birth and didn't tell his wife.
yes, baby switching.
Baby switching itself, not that big a deal. Baby switching where you don't tell your wife.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit right there.
Also buying a youth for the purpose of
Revenge.
So those are our trigger warnings. Nothing too bad. I mean, again, aside from suicide at a party, nothing too bad happens in this book.
It's it's insubstantial. All right. So, don't take any of that super seriously unless one of those things is a thing that really bothers you. It probably will not be an issue for you.
If you fucking hate pastels, then,
Yeah, this is maybe another thing for you. The court of Louis Xiv.
Yeah.
And we do have a contest because, like I said, I got this first edition and we read it. And it's not a super, super fancy first edition. It's been through some business, but it's cute enough. And so we figured what we would do is we would do an episode on it and we would, not raffle it off, but give it away. So what we're going to do is, we always announce a new podcast with a post on Twitter and a post on Facebook. We're going to have a poll this time. So if you're hearing this through your aggregator and it is when this episode is new, you can go participate. And we just want you to comment on whichever post it is with your favorite Regency or Regency-inspired romance, or honestly anything. If you comment something, you will be in the running, and we will pick one person at random and send them this book in the mail.
Yes. So
that's fun. It's super minor. It's not a big thing where you have to do 80,000 things and record a video. We just want to send somebody a book.
Yep. All right. So what are you drinking?
I have a Holy City Pluff Mud Porter. It's a Charleston beer, but it's the kind of beer that kind of eats like a meal. So it's not like a session beer. You gotta like be committed to drinking this. It's black as sin. It's good. It's really good. I highly recommend it if you like a thick, rich porter.
Well, I went to Morganelli's. Morganelli's, the only spot hotter than Columbia itself. And I got this
a really big parking lot that's paved.
I got this,
and it's right by a fried chicken restaurant. So imagine it.
I got this really nice Bordeaux, but I went for a run this afternoon and it was just too hot. So I'm just drinking a random Pinot Grigio because I can put ice in it. Sarah and I are probably going to be like halting because we've noticed with Zoom that like, obviously if you listen to the show, we love to talk over each other and Zoom does not like that. So I'm like, watching. So.
I'm going to try to be better. I'm really, really bad at not interrupting people. I blame my parents.
Same. I'm the same. So again, we might have some unusual faces happening. Like, what? You gonna talk? Who's talking?
We're trying to be our best, but we can't be our best because we can't be best. Yeah. We can't be in the room with each other, and it's weird. And Courtney's in my butt groove. That's my butt groove on the floor.
I'm in your butt groove. Well, I had to be over the fan because my room over the garage gets very hot. So, and even with the air conditioner, it's just like, so.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get on to this book, are you reading anything interesting?
Well, yeah, I just finished the new Grady Hendrix, which I really enjoyed a lot. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I had to write that down because I was going to forget. No, I really enjoyed it. The villain, I mean, there's a vampire and he's the villain, but really the villain is all men and white people who live in Mount Pleasant. So show me the lie.
I agree.
And also in the afterword, he thanked Becky Spratford, who is my Reader's Advisory librarian crush. So I had to dig that. I like each of his books as he writes them more. Like I really liked We Sold Our Souls. And then like I really like this one. It made me really angry, but in that like on purpose way. Like that gaslighting, like women's husbands who don't believe them and do not have their back way. It just, so I liked it a lot. I think you like it too, Courtney.
Cool. Yeah, a friend of mine was telling me about it. I am reading Moonshot, the inside story of America's Apollo moon landings. I have a little podcast friend book club, and so we read random books. Like we read one on the Skinwalker Ranch, Chernobyl, and now this one. And it's, this one's Alan Shepard and Deke Slayton, so it's very Alan Shepard and Deke Slayton forward. Like, we're the two badasses in the NASA, like when they're describing both of their, like, near misses, like, as just regular pilots, It's a thing of, anyone else would have lost their cool, but Alan Shepard. So, but I will say it is really good, and I've really enjoyed kind of hearing about it and them talking about it from like a more personal angle and like what what's in your mind when you're in the fucking little that pod essentially, and like sitting on a fucking rocket, like.
You can know how small it is, but until you see how small it is, you don't, until you go to like the Air and Space Museum and actually see the thing, it doesn't really register how tiny.
And I appreciate Alan Shepard saying that he had to sit in that thing for 3 hours and he had to pee and they wouldn't let him out, so he just peed himself. But
I actually read Prepub. There's a book that's coming out, and I don't know if it was delayed or not because of COVID, but it's called How to Astronaut. And it's by an astronaut who I'm really sorry name. I don't remember off the top of my head. But a lot of it is about peeing, where you can pee, when you can't pee, and when you absolutely cannot poop.
Right. Well, they did talk about like, so after Alan Shepard's mission obviously is successful, Gus Grissom is like, yo, you got to let me pee. Like, you got to figure something out. And what they did for Gus Grissom is they went and got like one of those kind of like the early model Depends. So it's like a girdle.
Yeah, that's what they wear now. I mean, they wear like that.
Yeah, he kind of looked, but he's like, I mean, like for them, it was just like going to this, like to the department store, and he's like, well, okay. So I've enjoyed that. So it's pretty good. I mean, again, it is very like Man About Town, Deep Slayton. You could tell it's probably the two of them just having drinks and the one guy who's actually writing the book listening.
That sounds like a blast.
It is fun. And you know what? It reads really well. I've been doing the Audible on it, and it's enjoyable. So that's what I've been reading.
I'm sure, maybe this won't be as funny to you as it is to me, but have you seen the audio transcripts of Apollo 11 with the poop?
No.
Yes, at some point there was a free-floating poop when we sent a man to the moon, and there was an argument and the dudes in the capsule over who was responsible for the poop. Nobody would claim it.
That is amazing.
And it is possibly the funniest thing that has ever been declassified in United States space history, and I highly recommend, if you just Google Apollo 11 poop, it's going to be the first thing that comes. I hope it's the first thing that comes up. If it's not, then we have bigger problems. So that's a hot tip.
Hot tips.
Hot tips. Well, you got some stuff on Georgette Hare, right?
I do. I have the Georgette Hare notes. So Georgette Hare. This is so thus far our earliest book. This book is from 1926. Georgette Hare lived from 1902 to 1974. She wrote Regency romance and also detective fiction novels. Her first book came out in 1921. She turned a story that she wrote for her younger brother into a novel called The Black Moth. And then kind of what happened is it was kind of like a tag team between her and her husband. So her husband would kind of do the outlines of these books, and then she'd fill everything in. And starting in 1932, she released one romance and one thriller each year. And she's known for her insane attention to detail. So she really used setting as a plot device, and many of her characters had obviously modern day sensibilities, which we'll talk about. But the books were in period, so she really wanted people to know about the period. So she would kind of do all this immersive stuff. She had in her house collections of antique clothing and all that kind of stuff. So the chicken skin fans and stuff like that. She's the original just researching the shit out of everything. And
it does come out in the thing. It feels it does not feel like Jane Austen. It does not feel like something that was written contemporarily, but it does not feel like a modern novel either.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's got that it's obsessed with clothing and carriages and language and stuff like that.
So she says that her Regency romances were inspired by the writings of Jane Austen, whose novels obviously are set in the same era. But she said, where Austen could ignore the minutiae of dress and decor, Hare included those details to invest in, get people into the tone of the time.
Austen's writing contemporary romances. She's not writing historicals.
Right.
So, but if you're writing a historical, you have to immerse people, whereas Austen didn't have to do that because.
Right. Okay. So.
Doing really good, and I'm not doing really good.
I'm about to start just doing this to you or something.
Well, that would be you can get a red.
Have to have a visual cue. Yeah, there's gonna have to be a visual cue. Hold on, there was another little quote that so she wrote, and she also did thrillers. The Conqueror, which was in 1931, was her first work of historical fiction, and it was the fictionalized account of real historical events. She researched the life of William the Conqueror, even traveling the route that he took. So again, she spends a lot of time doing this research. She had a lot of problems with taxes and also plagiarism, but she wouldn't sue the people who plagiarized her because she didn't want to have to pay more taxes. So
no.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But so Georgette Hare, she sounds pretty, this book, we'll get more into it, but she had a very long and prolific career. So
this is a lot of people's favorite book of hers. And I realized halfway through when the kidnapping happened that I had read it. And I did not, and then I remembered it. But I did see somebody on Twitter just like completely randomly, like talking about like some of her books as being anti-Semitic. There's none of that in this book. And I've read this one, and according to Amazon, I've also read The Talisman Ring. I guess it did make a big impression. And there wasn't anything in this book that I'm sensitive to it. I would have noticed it. So it wasn't here. It may be in other places. It is written in the 20s. Not that that's an excuse, but these things are huge. Like they're essentially like you can say anything is the first modern romance novel. You can start with Jane Austen. You can go through Jane Lindsay. You can go to Kathleen Woodowitz, whatever. But this is somebody who is often, called the first modern romance author. So she certainly wrote the template for how you write like historical romances. I would think it's fair to say. But it feels more like, I can't put to words exactly what it feels more like.
And again, we'll get into that when we get into it. All right, so this is the flap description. These old shays. Why did the Duke of Avon buy the Paris gutter snipe who ran out of a dark alley and begged to be saved from the wrath of a tavern keeper? Why did the Duke make the youth his page? Why did he then send the child to his sister in England to be brought up? And why did the Duke's arch enemy, the Comte de Saint-Vere, come hot-footing after? I love that hot-footing is.
I also like gutter snipe.
18th century England and France during the time of the glittering court of Louis the... Which Louis is this? The 15th? Yeah.
No, it must be 14th. It talked about Madame of Pompadour.
Yeah, I think they have it wrong in here. Okay.
Yeah, they must, because she appears, she's never in it, but like they make fun of her a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, she is in it because we'll get into that. Yeah. Okay, so the Louis XIV, even though they have the wrong Louis, is the setting for the spirited story of the elegant and slightly dissipated Duke of Avon and his remarkable acquisition. In this delightful Regency novel, the hot-headed... Oh, this is a different one. That's somewhere... Like, we've got a preview. There's a preview for Devil's Club in here. So, okay.
You get what you get.
And I'm not going to show the cover because I can describe the cover. The cover is a lot of, like, French Regency nonsense.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't know it was a romance at all from the cover. And, the cover is not quite cute enough to be... I don't know, I wanted it to be cuter.
It's very wig-heavy. There's a lot of wigs.
Oh, yeah, very. There's a lot of powder. You're going to get, like, a sinus infection from reading this novel.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, it's just kind of a Regency French man with his big coat and his little page boy following behind him with an umbrella. You
notice that there's no gender. It's always, like, the child in that. But you can smell, like, from a million miles away that child is a girl in breeches, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so all right, so the book opens up with the Duke of Avon just walking around, and then a kid, they keep calling it a child coming up and running into him and again pleading for help.
He thinks it's a cut curse, and then like, no, I'm just running away from my evil brother.
The evil brother shows up, and the Duke is automatically intrigued by this child and offers to buy the child on the spot.
He does notice in the lamplight, which, oh my god, this guy must have eagle fucking eyes, that the child has red hair and black eyebrows.
Yes.
Which evidently there's only like 3 people in the fucking world that have red hair and black eyebrows.
Right. So he buys this little person. And the thing is, and we'll talk about it too, like, they keep talking about this, and like the way that this child acts is like a 7-year-old, and this is a 19-year-old.
Yeah, and they mentioned several times 19. The right. Same way that you mentioned 19 in a porno.
But it's just like also like this. Yeah. So
she acts not even like a 7-year-old. She acts like a Pomeranian.
Yeah. So he brings the child immediately, is like, oh, Monsieur, Monsignor, you are the best. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I love you so much. Blah, yeah, blah. Like the devotion, the level of devotion that happens from the jump is just like,
how could her brother are possible? Well, they're always kind of elided. I guess you're supposed to think that like it was like way more dissipated than you could say, Like, she couldn't even, like, I bet if you had asked her, she couldn't have come up with exactly what she was hinting at.
Yeah.
You know, it's just supposed to be like, oh, mon Dieu.
Mon Dieu, mon Dieu. Yeah, so he brings his page home now. It's now his page, and again the child is devoted, and he starts giving the kid meals, and this kid, like, this page is just running some lip from the jump, just like
Blah.
Yeah, just very, very, very hyperactive. And
like how he trains a Pomeranian.
The book,
like how like that kind of dog will bite you, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's so cute. He just does that." That's exactly like this child is.
So the book just starts off kind of slow because you have the Duke of Avon, and you have his best, and his first name is Justin Alistair.
He has another name too, though. Like, there's 3 names to this dude, which was confusing. Yes. So yeah, he's the Duke of Avon. He's Justin, but there's like another one. I don't remember what it is.
Alistair is the one that.
Yeah.
He's Justin Alistair, Duke of Avon.
Yeah, and they will use, I mean, of course, like an actual Regency book would use those, like, just sprinkle that shit, like a Russian novel. Well, okay. She does that too. So just FYI, if you want to read that, those are all the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got all right.
Dang.
So his best friend is Hugh Davenport.
Davenport.
It's not Davenport.
Anyway, Hugh.
Yeah, it's like Davenport.
And he was like the really fun dude, like the dude that in a contemporary book, like book 2 would be about, and you'd be looking forward to it.
Right. Let's see.
Maybe
I'm gonna let you do the because you were the jumper. Like I'm gonna hold back. You do the plot.
No, because I read it before you did, and I may have forgotten many things.
Well, I'm just trying to keep our whatever to a.
Well, okay, so you can tell throughout this that that Avon is not telling you, obviously. Avon's supposed to be a rake. They call him Satana all the time. He's supposed to be like the evilest dude, although he never does anything evil in the book. Yeah. So you know that he's got a big old plot. And so he takes the page with him all the time, Leon is his name, to like gaming hells and stuff, but it's always on purpose, and he's always trying to show him off, specifically his red hair and black, how was it, eyeliner? Brows.
Also, we find out that like Leon is not from Paris originally. He grew up in the country with his older brother Jean, who was the one that sold him. And when his parents died, they moved to Paris, where the brother bought a tavern, and basically the brother and the brother's wife have been misusing Leon for like.
But it's especially like, I got the impression that when the brother got married is when it got really bad for him. That like she's like the big shrew of the thing. Right. And that the reason why he's like educated and he can read and write and knows lots of like stupid funny words is because he was educated by the parish priest, wherever they came from, which he's a little bit the whole thing is very a little vague, and like his parents died very suddenly at the same time.
Yeah,
kind of obviously is going to come into play and in the future. So he what's his name? Avon Justin Alistair, whatever his name is.
Justin.
We'll go with Justin, which is probably a legit name, but it sounds so contemporary that it sounds silly. The way that Tiffany is actually a medieval name, but you can't use the word Tiffany because it sounds crazy.
There's also a Jennifer, and it always cracks me up when there's just a Jennifer. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it's an old name too, but it's just like
it's not that old a name. Like, there's a few Welsh Jennifers, but most that's a 70s name. But I mean, also that's not the case in this one because it's a 20th book. But so eventually, like, it comes clear, which of course would have come clear when like the first night he brought this child home. It's like bathe it and dress it. Immediately, it would have become clear that Leon is actually Leonie.
Yeah. And I think, so you find out a lot of boring shit happens with parties and stuff. But, like, the big reveal comes where, you is like, I have known since the moment I saw the child. And there's a weird switch that happens where in the beginning of the book, she is the child because she is l'enfant. And then at the half, like, by the second half, he just switches it to infant, the English infant, she goes from child to baby. Like,
he is British. He is an Englishman in France. So
right.
I guess it's kind of a linguistic thing. But also, it becomes clear through, it's kind of good how they did it. It was kind of subtle, but it also took fucking forever. So I appreciate just like a Harlequin like style, like just tell me what's going on. There's this dude, Saint-Vire, okay? And so he has a brother. And by the way, all these people have red hair and black eyebrows. And his brother is, would have gotten is he a duke? I think he's like, whatever, large tracts of land. If Saint-Vire had a son, which he did have a son, as far as anybody knows. But in his wife had many miscarriages. And it was thought that his brother, who was a friend of Justin, would inherit everything. And Saint-Vire is a terrible person. Everybody hates him. But then they had a son. But the son, you see the son is dark-haired, kind of ugly, and likes farms. Yeah, and does not have red hair and black eyebrows. So in other words, what happened in that alley is that this urchin runs into this man. He has such an index in his head of people he hates. He was like, damn, that is the highborn, switched at birth.
He also, like, he has major beef with Lecomte for, like, you don't really know what you don't know what Lecomte did to him. I'm gonna keep doing that, Lecomte. Like, you don't know what the beef originated, but like Justin hates his ass and is like, so it's like the Count of Monte Cristo type vengeance, but like zany.
It's so strange because he tells you all the other things that he did or that other people did to him. Like, half the fucking book is him telling these stories about, like, whatever. But you never find out what Saint-Vire did to piss him off so bad that he would have laser sighted on to an urchin.
Okay, so the big reveal happens that she is, Le Fille, instead of Garçon. And she is like, she's so dialed up to 11. She's like, no, please do not give me away. You are going to give me away now that you know I am. Le Fille. So he's like, no, l'enfant, never.
The second that he admits that he knows that, all of a sudden he gets extremely proper. Like, he gets her a chaperone because he does not want to tarnish her sterling reputation. And the funny thing is that for the rest of the book, everybody is like, oh, you're his ward?
Yeah. Like, I think there's going to be, like, a triangle with her and Hugh and the Duke. But then, like, basically, Hugh's like, you know what? They're cute together. It's fine. So
they are clear about their ages. Leonie is 19. Justin is, they say, near 40. So I like on the high side of 40.
He's 40. He's 40 or 41.
He's at least 40. He's not like it was unclear to me like how much more than 40 he was. So he's twice her age, and she acts like a 7-year-old.
Right.
She's a bit off-putting.
So he takes her immediately to England where her sister Fanny is, and basically he's like, Fanny, make her a girl. And this girl is like, I do not want to give up my breeches. No, my breeches. She's
not allowed to say breeches anymore.
Yeah. She's very just, she's been living as a boy for 12 years from when they moved to Paris. So from 7 to 19, she's been as a boy. So
and the reason is that because her brother, it's not just to protect her, because that would make sense. Like, okay, we're moving to like a scary part of town. If you're a boy, that's safer for you. No, the reason is that that he married a lady who was such a fucking bitch that if he had a sister, she would have been like jealous and evil. Like, that was a little creepy and disturbing. That was the problem there. Not for her safety, but because like, oh well, my wife won't let her have a sister.
So we go to England. We meet Fanny. I love Fanny. Fanny is the I am still beautiful. She's married to Edward, who she loves beyond measure, and Edward loves her. He's very stick in the mud, but he's perfect for Fanny because Fanny is like, they're like the Dharma and Greg of, because Fanny's just very out there, likes to talk about her romances, and Edward's just like, Edward is not like the Duke, like everyone else does not like the Duke, but no one or Leonie will not listen to anyone talk shit about her Monsignor. If people talk about her Monsignor, then she is ready to fight them. So she gets a makeover and she hates it. She hates being a girl, but she will do whatever she will do whatever Monsignor wants,
And Fanny finds her a charming child. Everybody is so charmed by her. That's the thing. Like she would be obnoxious, but the book tries to convince you so hard that she's charming that you buy it. Essentially.
Yeah, she's written very cute. She's written very she is a little bit she's like the original manic pixie dream girl, but with a violent streak, because she's just all the time, like you said, like a Pomeranian, or perhaps Papillon. So
Oh, honestly, you know what? She's like a Chihuahua, because all the Chihuahuas I've ever met are one-person dogs.
Yeah,
she's a one-person girl. That's it.
He really is. So
she literally careened into this man, and that is it for her for the rest of her life.
So, she gets her makeover, and then they retire to a countryside home where she has one of the dumb Avon cousins, chaperoning. And she's like, I do not need a chaperone. I do not like this chaperone. She is the worst, And then Avon just disappears for a while. And you're like, where the fuck is he going?
But I think that's actually supposed to be character development for Avon. Well, for one thing, that he did, he let it go for a while, but also that he got the chaperone and that he
is doing the right thing.
He's society, fuck society, but he realizes that he could ruin this girl.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while he's away, you meet some other people in the neighborhood. It's this other family, the
Merivales.
And I think we meet them because Davenport, Avon at one time had a thing for the wife.
They kidnapped her for a minute, I think.
Something.
Jennifer. Yeah, that is Jennifer. And then I forget the name of the other of her husband. But it's all cool now, right? They're all chill with each other. They're sweet neighbors.
Yeah, through Leonie, it all gets cool. So while he's away, his younger brother Rupert shows up, and Rupert is amazing. Rupert is my favorite character because he's younger. I feel like he's closer in Leonie's age than his brothers. And they're kind of like two idiot siblings just tearing hell through the countryside. They have a fencing match, and Rupert's kind of a dandy, a little foppish, and it's her basically kicking his ass. And he's like, "You ripped my buttons," and she's like, "Haha, buttons are easy,
your buttons."
Yeah. And the book, honestly, the first half of this book is super slow, and then what happens?
It goes.
Then it goes. So they're gallivanting around the countryside because Leonie does not like having her chaperone, and her chaperone is, again, lazy. So it's her and Rupert. And all of a sudden, who should appear but Le Comte? The Count is there.
He did, Justin did, dangle her in front of Saint-Vire just to see what he would do. And he went pale. And it was like that. So, right. I mean, in other words, he was incited. Nobody said anything, but handkerchiefs were thrown around metaphorically.
So he shows up in England and basically just grabs Leonie
on the side of the road. He sees her there, oh well, great.
And then he grabs her on the side of the road, drugs her, and this is where Rupert, who has been heretofore sort of useless, all of a sudden is pacing this carriage down, steals a horse,
steals a hat because he needs a hat.
He gets a hat. He steals, he gets on a boat. He sells the horse that he stole, and he's making way. And meanwhile, they're in France now, and Leonie is pretending to be asleep, and the carriage that she is in breaks down, and so she jumps out and is running, and meets up with Rupert. She jumps in front on the front of the horse. Rupert's got her he's the bitch essentially, and they just take off.
It's great. This is a great part of this book.
Rupert gets shot, and they have to seek shelter. So they find this little random innkeeper, and they're like, let us tell you a tale. You know?
And he pretends like it's highwaymen, which, considering the way that Saint-Cyr is acting, like, yeah, it is highwaymen. But they're afraid he's going to come, because what are they going to do? Because Rupert is shot. Leonie is, you know, by herself. Like, he probably has, and so they're all drawn up. They're posted up. And Rupert throws away his oatmeal because somebody walks through the door. But guess what? It's Justin. And you don't have to worry about shit when Justin is there, because Justin is like an army of 800 people. Justin is one of those guys who makes you feel like, oh, okay, he's got it handled. He's got an angle on it, and we're okay because Justin's here. He's thought about it all.
And it was nice because, like, Rupert's, you know, action and stuff, because, like, before this, the only time, like, when Justin talks about Rupert, he's just like, oh, he's useless and stupid. And so, like, Rupert has gone up in Justin's estimation by, like, 1 million. So they have to wait until Rupert is healed. So they're kind of, like, convalescing at this inn. And then all of a sudden, Franny shows up. Like... It gets really comedic and nonsense from here on out. Like, Franny shows up and she's like, I hate Edmund. I wanted to come to Paris. The
serious part is over for a minute because, yes, it's all hat boxes now.
And then, so they're like...
But no, Saint-Cyr shows up. And they have to bluff his shit out.
Yeah. But hold on. Before Saint-Cyr shows up, the other thing that's hilarious is that Justin has this page named... Gaston, and poor Gaston has to, like, he's like, okay, Gaston, he's like, I need you to go back to England. I need you to get all of Rupert's clothes. And the guy's like, all of them? And he's like, all of them. And all this other stuff. And I need you to bring the chaperone here. And Gaston's like, you know, and so he goes.
It takes forever, too, because probably Gaston was like, I'm going to spend 2 fucking days in this nice hotel somewhere because fuck this shit.
And then, by the time he gets back, Franny is there, and then Justin's like, guess what? You gotta go back and go get all this stuff. And then literally 5 minutes after Franny walks in the door, you know, talking about how much she hates Edmund and all this, and Justin is saying, okay, Franny, it's actually good you're here because we're going to go to my Paris house, and I need you to plan the biggest fucking party in the world because
Franny is like,
my schemes are... She's like, it's my goal. And then 5 minutes later, Edmund walks in, and he's like, Franny, come home. And she's like, no. And they have this, like, fight, and Rupert's egging it on. He's like, Edmund, you're just hungry. He's like, if you have some of this breakfast, it's going to make you feel better. And she's like, well, come to Paris. And he's like, I can't come to Paris because I hate Justin so much. And she's like, please. And finally, like, Leonie is like, you know, oh, my Monsignor is the best. They do not hate him. I can't do a French girl's accent. I can only do it in like a Nephew Le Pew kind of.
Nobody who's not a Pomeranian can really do Leonie justice. I mean, it's like.
And so Edmund ends up being like, okay. So they all converge at the Paris estate, and they immediately start to, like, plan for Leonie's, like, presentation, because prior to this, she was only known as Leon the Page. So no one knows about Leonie.
But he has been introducing her to everybody in England as his ward, and he is evidently become her legal guardian. I'm not sure how that happened. Do they just let you buy children? I don't know. But so he's laid the groundwork for this. But now and this is his big vengeance plot. Is he is going to do these big parties. He's bringing her out into society, and she is going to be like the debutante of the season.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe it's that. So she has like the biggest coming out party, and she just beguiles everyone. You know, she's beguiling.
Now in the first parties, she wears her natural hair.
Yes.
But Saint-Cyr's not at those because, like, he would never come to one of Justin's things, I guess.
Oh, and she also, like, keeps referring to Saint-Cyr as the pig person.
Yes, the pig person.
The pig person and pig wash. You know, he made me drink this pig wash. And like,
he's very offended about this entire kidnapping thing, which she should be. Okay, fine.
It's pretty amazing. And, you know, Rupert's like, I'm going to kill him. And she's like, no, I will kill him. The pig man made me drink pig wash. And Justin's like, please stop saying pig wash. He's like, I'll allow pig man if it means I don't have to hear pig wash. And she's like, whatever.
So they do her big presentation to the king, and he wants her powdered. So, and it's very, very dramatic. It's like she's wearing all white, and her hair, of course, is powdered white, so you can't see her red hair. But her, she's and you can see it. It's cute. But like,
I'll give her presents.
She
gets presents from everybody, and she's very excited about the presents.
But it's like a super heavy schedule. It's like a big fucking deal. And then she goes to be presented to the king, and there's this whole business with Samvir, like, And who is it? Is it like Justin's ex-mistress?
Yes.
Comes to her and says, oh, well, you know that everybody knows that you're Samvir's bastard, right? Like, right? And it's going to really embarrass Justin when it comes out, right? It's going to ruin him. You get that, right? And she's like, what? And because Justin didn't like fucking tell her any of his fucking vengeance plot, she believes her and she runs away.
Well, first she goes and sees Lecan.
That's right. They do have
They have like a meeting, and he's the one, like, so what happens is he is trying to find a way to like mitigate the Justin scandal. So the mistress tells her who she's the base-born child of or whatever. And so she goes and sees him, and he says, yes, you're my bastard child. And he was like, he like incites her. He's like, if you love, Monsignor as much as you say you do, the best thing for you to do is disappear, because you're going to be a blight on him. And you can
ruin him. I'm not sure that we actually explain what truly happened. What actually happened, and I don't remember exactly what he said, is that so they had a girl, and his wife was just like wiped out and didn't know any of this, and so he swapped the girl for a baby that a farmer on his his estate had, and said, just go somewhere else, go whatever.
I think she does know, but because he's such a bastard, like, because she gets really upset about it and is like, and he's like, you only had that baby a day. I don't know why you're that upset about it. I remember him saying that to her.
It's very obvious when you look at Leonie that like in the face,
her baby was taken from her in duress. She didn't give that baby up.
She's not at all involved in this thing. She's an innocent victim for this entire thing, and you feel terrible for her because everybody else is like, ha ha ha, but there's this actual person.
Yeah. So Leonie has like run away, and the Avon crew finds like the note, because there's like 12 of them now. Like, again, everybody has shown up, and they're all getting along, which is great. Yeah,
because of Leonie, they're all like, okay, fuck you, Justin, I hate you, but Leonie is so sweet.
And you guys are cute together, and they see like how he has changed because of her, I guess, like, because Yu's back, Yu comes back, he's like, hey, so the penultimate, like, whatever, is Justin, there's this big salon happening, and people are singing and like telling, like, reciting poems, and Justin's like, well, I have a story. And so he tells this whole story, and everybody's like very, they're like super into it. They're super into it because he's like telling it as like a Cain and Abel parable. And
he's leaning on Madame de Saint-Vire. Like, he's like, that's who we expect to break.
But the thing is, what's upsetting is the wife, like, Mademoiselle Saint-Vire is just like getting more and more crushed as this happens. And then, like, Justin ends up like to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that that Leonie is Saint-Vire's child. He tells them that she killed herself, which makes the Mademoiselle, like, Madame, freak out, like, and start screaming, and like she's like, no, and then
he also says that he has, and he took this from the curé at wherever the town was,
but it was a bluff. It wasn't real.
Yeah, it was a bluff, the whole thing. Although it did have Saint-Vire's handwriting on it.
Yeah.
But he said, and I have the confession here that this woman wrote before she died.
Yeah. And so, as soon as like the wife freaks out, all hell breaks loose, and Fanny's like, no, he's just like, that's a joke. She's not dead. Like, and then Saint-Vire basically just offs himself. Sorry, there's a fly.
Yeah, like it happened in like this quick. Like, you just pulled it, and I mean,
I would just pulled the pistol out and it's like,
hold on, let me get my my ball and I get the tamping rod. I mean, they did have caps at the time, but they were they were very expensive. But I guess this guy was, whatever.
Yeah,
and then blew his head off in the middle of this salon.
At this party. And then Justin knows immediately where Leonie is and goes and gets her. And they have a big confession. At first he's like, I cannot marry you, I'm too old. And she's like, she's like, you bought me, you bought my soul. And if we do not marry, I will kill myself, or I will stay here in the country forever alone. And she's like, there was no one I love more than you, mon ami.
Les poissons. Sorry, I picture the chef from Little Mermaid. That's all. I mean,
and she's like, "Mon ami," like just the whole. And so finally, he's like, "Okay, we'll get married," and they profess their love to each other and kiss, and then they just disappear for a fucking week, and everybody else is like, "Where the fuck are they?" And then they show back up, and she is the Duchess of Avon.
Yeah. And everybody in a romance novel wants. They just want to be a duchess. So.
And she meets her uncle and her mother, and her have like a moment, and then her mom is like, she comes in and is like, my man does not want anyone to disturb her. So, you feel like
everything's fine, right? After your husband blew his head off with a musket ball in front of all your friends. Everything's fine. So
she gives a big toast and stands on a chair and continues to act,
a little hoydenish. Yeah.
And
sorry, I only see when I look at a Zoom thing. I haven't had a haircut since February, and I have a rat tail that just comes out the side of my head.
I love it.
So yeah, it's super hot. I should braid it.
I went and got a haircut, and it was wonderful. Obviously everybody's a mask and social wasn't busy or anything, but it was so great. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, this side of my head was shaved when I got a haircut.
No. I mean, you did the tattoo. You can go get it.
I know, but I don't know. It just seems like the tattoo thing is they are so super careful even normally. That the haircut, I need to talk to her because also, I mean, of course, the people who cut your hair, they're not making money. They're not salaried, so.
What was the girl who does, or the woman who does my hair, she got in a really bad car wreck the week before, and that salon they were supposed to go to for their Christmas bonus this year, the owners were gonna take everybody to Greece, and now obviously it was supposed to happen this month, and now it's wow. So but I think they were probably one of those places where owners took care of them while they couldn't work. So
yeah, I just have to be extra careful because my mother, I can now go see if I say elderly, this will be the one podcast she actually listens to, but she lives in an independent living facility, but you can only see them outside. Did I mention we live in, by God, South Carolina?
No, but it was, they did a lot of they took your temperature and all that stuff when you came in. So I felt comfortable about it. But anyway, okay. So they end up happily ever after, get married. Woohoo. So.
Yeah, and fuck some beer. And we never found out. That's the weird thing is, okay, so we heard about all the other bullshit Justin got up to, but we never found out why he hated this man so much.
It was bizarre. It was very strange.
He had it handy. When he saw a child in the dark.
I know.
He looked a little bit like this guy.
He was ready. He was ready. All right, I guess it's question time.
All right, well, so I'm the only one who has the question sheet, so I'll derive the questions, I guess. Big dick energy or big dick energy?
Oh, he had the biggest dick energy. That guy's dick is
you can see it through his pantyhose.
It's the size of her side. That thing was massive. It was the biggest. He was always 10 steps ahead of something. And at the end, it kind of felt like this is such a stupid reference, but how in Columbo where he's always just telling a story. Yeah, it was very much and then this. He was always ahead of the game and just always calm under pressure. When everybody else is freaking out, he was very quippy too. He had good jokes.
He also, he's constantly wearing the stupidest fucking outfits because it's accurate to the time period. This is a man who can seem like he has the biggest, hottest dick And he's wearing a skirt and pantyhose.
I know, we're going to talk about these outfits with our outfit question, but like there's some insane fun outfits.
You gotta have some kind of masculine energy to still look hot in a wig
and
skirt.
Yeah, like, and there's one outfit in particular, like his, with the takedown outfit that we'll get into. But yeah, he had the biggest dick energy. God.
He did. I have to say, like, that was a plus to this book. Would you talk shit with or about the heroine?
She's fun. Like, she is like, you know what, it's like they took, or it's like, Julie Garwood's Jamie from The Bride is like, it's that kind of archetype character of just so manic, high energy, insane person. But she's fun.
So much though. I mean, she's a lot. I mean, yeah, you can't not like her.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you wouldn't be reading this book if you didn't like her. But I mean, but she is so much.
Yeah, she is a lot. Like,
I cannot imagine like going on a trip with her where you like share a hotel room for 3 days. Please no.
Yeah, she is wild. Like, she's just so, yeah. But like, I did like that she's like into sword fighting and wants her breeches, and like when she gets kidnapped, she's in her breeches because she missed her breeches and wanted to have them and all this stuff. And you know, again, her, like, the pig person that she wants to kill.
We didn't say, like, when Samvir comes, she had been in her breeches. And so she, like, and then when he came to the inn, the roadside inn, she was in her skirts. And she was like, I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. She's very cool under pressure. Like, she's great. She's just fucking, you know what she is? She's like that, everybody has that drunk friend, like when you're in college, that just went full fucking bore and like you'd always have to chase them down.
Just do it. Yeah. But I think that in 10 years she'll be delightful. You know, she'll have calmed down, like that kind of steely energy that she had when Samvir came to see her, like, you know, and she had to be like, so if you come and get me, you're going to admit that you know, I don't know who you're talking about.
So much.
That's the kind of thing that maybe when she mellows a bit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you can't not like her.
After she gets that energy fucked out of her a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's what she needs. She needs
she needs that big
stick. Yeah. Bechdel to bitch. Fanny's great.
Fanny is great. Jennifer's great. And you actually have like this like really good relationship with like basically exes kind of coming to terms with each other with like Avon and her. You do have like the other issues obviously being the evil mistress, you know, that's like shows up for a hot minute. And you do get a lot of like, you do get a lot of Fanny, you do get a lot of Jennifer. So you have female relationships in the book, you know, but you also,
especially for the time that this was written, I was pleased to see that it was, you know, it was not all, you know, early, when I say early romance, I don't mean this time period. I mean like 70s, often is the blonde girl hates the dark-headed girl.
Exactly. So, you know, they get, and I like that it was like, in addition to like the sister-in-law, it's also this other woman that really likes her too, that has a past with Justin and isn't like bothered by it, you know?
Although in general, okay, so this book could have stood to lose 50 pages. Maybe that was the 50 pages that could have gone. Like, these people didn't really serve a purpose in the narrative, except to maybe show society's impression of Justin.
Exactly.
It was a slow starter, and maybe we could have cut some there. But I mean, like, you know, in terms of female friendship, it was really nice that she encountered this woman on her own, and they had an organic friendship. It was nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I liked that a lot.
When it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye?
It's hard to say because, like, you do get this, like, obviously, he's very proper with her, but we do have that, like, you know, summer, winter, like, he is 20 years older than her.
Also, he has complete control over her. He's literally her guardian. Like, he's her dad. Here's her foster dad.
I think the other thing that, like, the other thing that bothered me about it is, like, I'm not saying, like, at 19 you are not a fully actualized person, but especially 19 in Regency era, like, you're a fucking adult.
You're getting to be an old debutante, yes.
And then, like, everybody, like, infantiles her, like, where they just kept calling her, like, again, I'm not even talking about, like, the terminology of l'enfant and, like, infant, but, like, she's just a child. She's just a child. And I mean, again, she is young, but, like, that made it even worse.
At 19, you would be on your third kid. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like, and I feel like that made it worse, and, like, just them promoting her childishness.
And the way that she acted, it's not the stated ages. The stated ages were not fine, but they were fine-ish because these were adults who could make their decisions. But
when she shows up, the way that she talks and the way that she acts, again, she acts like she is 12 or 13 years old, and that makes it worse. So, like, that I felt like was a little bit like, ugh. Like, she's so just, because he's trying to put some space between them sometimes, and she is just like, like, no, like, and at first, it did kind of make this weird, like, I never really got them as, like, a romantic pairing because of, like, how, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it was just almost like just fucking blind devotion, you know?
It was not, it's not that she saw him as a person. I don't know.
Right.
And it's the fact that, like, all of his friends and relations were all like, well, at first I thought that was fucking gross, but as I see them together, like, they were talking themselves into it.
It is a weird, like, reverse of, like, usually what you get is, like, everybody looking at the, making the female character the one that's, like, all, like, the idealization or whatever. And it's just, like, her doing that with him. It's okay for you to be. The thing is, too, like, when he tells her the plan, she's, like, not even fucking annoyed by it. Like, she's not like, oh, you didn't tell me this. I'm not even saying, like, she's just like, oh, you are so smart, blah, blah, like, oh, you always had a plan, and then you killed the pig person, haha. She's not like, so the reason that you got me was, I mean, she does ask, she's like, so the reason you got me was this, and he's like, well, yes, and she's like, so that's it, and he's like, well, at first, and she's like, oh, okay.
Well, fair, but, like, Samveer actually, like, his actual plan was to get her to kill herself.
Right.
Like, that was his plan, and she, like, if she hadn't said that, no, I mean, that's what people thought had happened.
Yeah, but I think,
I mean, like, there's some gross things in this.
Yeah. So I think there's, like, obviously the book is very, very, it's much more forward than I would think for something from 1926, but then, the 20s were fun, and then the 30s and fucking 40s and 50s happened. But, you know what I mean?
It does feel like a kind of, well, you said an MGM movie with Pink Velvet.
Yes, I felt like it was very, it felt very, like, My Fair Lady, like, they have a very, like, Eliza Doolittle, Henry Higgins relationship where he's
frothy in that way. Yes,
I'm surprised that this was not made into a movie because, like, what the fuck? Rex Harrison was, like, born to be this character.
It's very filmic, honestly. Yeah, it feels like a movie. Like, once it gets going, like, once the kidnapping happens, it feels like a movie.
I mean, I'm like, shocked as shit that, like,
you see, like, them zooming in on Samveer's eyes in the end. Like, it's him standing up and being like, bah, 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 bah. And then you see the other guy at the other end of the thing.
Yes, exactly. Like, and I mean, it does, like, I am shocked that like, it's very,
it's got big dark shadows energy.
Or, like, it feels very, like, Gigi, like.
Yeah, they do like a musical. It's got a little something weird going wrong with it.
I feel like it's like, like that Leslie Caron could have been Leonie, like, I fully expected that. It felt very Metro Golden Mayer, like that, whatever that vision thing that they had, like, what was that called? The,
like, you mean the big roadshow movies? Like the,
like the big, like, it was like the Panavision.
Yeah, like Super Panavision, that was like the, crazy aspect ratio. Yeah,
like, it felt very much like
that.
And
they would fill the screen for no reason. Yeah. How badly are you judging your mama for reading this book? I think everybody's mama read this book. This book is like a really influential book.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is super fun, and I ended up liking it a lot more than, like, Like, again, that first half of this book, I was like, I wrote Sarah, I was like, Le Comte de no fuck. You know, it's like, what is
No, you wrote me and you're like, one of your Grammy books.
But the beginning of it is the beginning of it is so slow going though. Like,
it gets fast in the alley and then it's like,
yeah. So, but it does pick up. So yeah, I think, you know, I'm sure my mama and everybody else's mama read it. I think I saw somewhere that like Stephen Fry said that like Georgette Hare was his favorite author.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It's very like you're running into a room and you and then you know. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you've seen the Eddie Izzard thing. That's like the British drama is people walking into a room and be like, and then walking out. But that's not necessarily true because there's an entire tradition of British drama that's like people walking into a room and going, and Stephen Fry is part of that.
It is
like the Blackadder business. Like it's more in that kind of. Whereas like we have plenty of American stuff. Like I'm thinking about Marilyn Robinson. She makes me cry in all of her books, but just people walking into rooms and walking back out of them. And like I was just in tears with I don't remember which one it was, but my husband was like, well, what happened to that book? And I was like, nothing.
Oh my god.
It's just people walking into rooms and walking back out of them.
It is very fun though, but
yeah, this is very, we kept saying pawn rep because
upon our reputation, pawn rep. Yeah, pawn rep.
We used to say pawn rep.
Yes, that is in this a lot, the upon my reputation. And that is one of the things they keep telling her, like, because she keeps cursing and they're like, you can't say these words. And she's like, well, what can I say? And they're like, either lud or pawn rep. And
so everybody says pawn rep all the time.
She's like, that is stupid. Pig person, pig wash.
Pawn rep.
So
would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? Yes, I can see her incredibly well. What I'm seeing, I guess, is not fair. So what I'm seeing is Orlando. I'm seeing Tilda Swinton, which is the first time I ever saw Tilda Swinton. Is in Orlando.
I feel like, again, like I said, I feel like this is a very, like, one of those early 60s, big, everything is covered in, like, plush purple or pink velvet. And, like, again, like a Leslie Caron or a, like Audrey Hepburn being in this and just being insane and manic, you know? So that's kind of where I see it with. But also, like, that's not what the point of the question is, like, it's not one that you can really do anything with race with because it's, you know, 18th century France.
But there is a weird, deep, it's not racism, but it's an idea that somebody's circumstances at birth are stamped on their features.
Exactly.
Which is very Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is problematic. And, like, you know,
if you see an exceptionally beautiful person, they're probably somebody's bastard.
Their features are too fine. It's always when their features are so fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, what you talking about is being inbred. Like, you know?
Habsburg jaw or nothing. It's always
I always think of like the quarter horse versus the thoroughbred. Like, you know what? Like, fine, I might be stocky, but I'm not gonna just fall apart over any old thing. So I guess
rich people are $1 million animals and 10-cent legs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like, yeah, that is problematic. And again, nobody's race is addressed, but I mean, it's 1926 and it's England.
It's about birth a lot. And I mean, there's nothing. This poor kid is a sad thing. They act like he is like the shit. He is like the shittiest shit just because like he's like a farmer's kid who got replaced.
Yeah, he just wants to be.
He can't possibly be smart. He can't possibly be interesting. He's just like, everything about it is terrible.
Also, like, I mean, I guess you get like why the mom, especially because, like, you know, especially with her knowing, with Madame Comte knowing, like, that's not her child. She's probably obviously not going to be fully involved. But like, like you've raised this person for 19 years. You don't have any affection for them, you know, like.
Boudoir.
Yeah. So it's very.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, he's that whole part of it was very retro, but also very kind of gross. Yeah, this kid did nothing wrong. This kid was a complete innocent, and I guess we were supposed to think that they were nice, that like they gave him a farm.
I bet they gave him a farm. Oh, you know what? I bet like
farm. All he wanted to do was farm.
But
blood.
I do like, and the nice thing is, you do kind of get the feeling that Leonie was probably like, be like, "You will be my brother. I do not care."
Yeah, no, she wouldn't have. She was chill, but everybody else around her, not so chill. You're not leaving your house looking like that. Whoa up, girl. There are some costumes in this.
So during the penultimate episode, like during the penultimate, I'm gonna make you kill yourself. This mofo is wearing head to toe gold. He is just in straight up gold with like emeralds dripping. He's got his chicken feet fan.
Came to slay.
And they even like when he finds Leonie, he is describing what happened, and she like stops him, and she's like, "What were you wearing?" And he was like, "The gold," and she's like, "Good choice."
Because the thing is, normally when he tells a story, you had to fucking wait for him to tell you what he is wearing first. This is the most close-horse man we have ever had on this thing.
In the opening,
amazing.
In the opening, like in introducing him, he is like, when he finds her, he is in like all purple velvet. Like he is dressed up like Prince during like Purple Rain is what that is what he looks like. Like honestly, that is probably the closest approximation to the big dick energy that was exhibited, and the clothing is Prince in Purple Rain.
Yes.
So if you want to know what this man looks like, that's what he looks like. Prince Purple Rain.
There are some great ensemble with Leonie also, but like the best one, like, okay, so he wants her when she goes to see the king, he wants her in full dress. So he wants to have her hair powdered out so that we can't see that she's a redhead. In other words, so that people won't necessarily know what's going on, but some Veer probably will. So it's like a whole thing. Yeah. Or maybe some Veer won't. It's all part of his big plan. So she's got her own fair, perfect skin and her sapphire eyes and everything and her perfect mouth, but her hair is white and her dress is white, and it's just her like porcelain, and you can see it, like, you know, the way that they describe it, and it is just, you know, but the thing is like that she's God's holy innocent, right? So she doesn't understand the effect that she has on everybody, like why she's the cause célèbre of that season. Like, why everybody's looking at her, and she's just like, you want to play fucking dice? What?
Well, she's also like, when, you know, they talk about the dancing, she was like, I will not dance anything unless Monsignor dances with me. And he's like, I'm too old to dance. And she's like, bah! That was her, actually. She was always like, bah! So she is very, There's so
she attract the entire prince and stuff, but she didn't care because she didn't have the damn sense to know that you need to like have, this stuff isn't free. You'd think if you grew up in a fucking roadside inn, you would know that the stuff isn't free.
And then they keep talking about like Justin's, like he presented good leg, you know, so you know there's so many like leg extensions happening. And then you get like she does really great descriptions of Versailles and, you know, how everybody is dressed, and so they go to Versailles the second time, and Madame Pompadour is there, and she wants to meet her, and Justin won't let her. And he's like, you're better than meeting a mistress. And I was kind of like, that was also a little problematic, but because I would be like,
well, and part of that I thought was probably because that people were going to say that she wasn't Saint-Vier's legal daughter.
Yeah.
But people were gonna, like, when he tried to pull this shit, that people were gonna say that's a bastard.
Yeah.
You know, exactly. I felt that was what that was about.
Yeah. So, you know, Madame Pompadour is there, but we don't meet her.
Yeah, Justin, for some reason, even though he's like a little gutter snake, I guess because he's a rich and moneyed and named gutter snake, is so much better than Madame Pompadour.
I know, yeah. I mean, but I guess he is very, like, I guess it's just to show how protective he is of her reputation or whatever. So, all right.
Would your 12-year-old self have dog-eared any pages?
No, I'd have thrown this thing. I'd be like, ugh. This is disappointing. I mean, I would have enjoyed it. But I would have been like, this is disappointing. You know, they kiss. There is a kiss. You get a kiss description. She's always like throwing herself down at him and kissing his hand too. Like,
yeah, it's very. You ever had a dog that was very like physical? It's like that. Ugh. What pairs nicely with a dumpster fire?
Well, again, I think you have to go with like, well, in this they drink a lot of they drink Burgundy, like it's just Burgundy. So I think a good Burgundy. And when I have my fancy Bordeaux, that'll go nicely.
Yeah, I have some wine in a box, but I was gonna drink my beer instead. So sorry about that. Maybe some cognac.
Burgundy, and it's like it was a good bottle. I mean, not good, but like better than like
and signature at the top, like
better than my Rooster Booster Rex Goliath that I get. But like, so I was like, well, I want to save this for like a good meal or something, and not just being overheated in my frog.
You can enjoy a red wine when you're super hot.
It's hard to, like even with the even having it in like the little wine fridge where it's just like slightly chilled. I'm like, oh, it's too hot.
Yeah.
The tannins are like beating me down.
You can't have oaky when it's humid.
I think I might save this one for like the fall, like a good, I don't know. I'll say that. And
we'll do something else en français. How about that?
So yes, this has been Georgette Hare's. I do want to like these old shades. Where do you like? Is the name because of her hair? Do you think?
I thought it was the other way around. That like it's shades like ghosts.
Oh, it's a good one.
Like the ghosts of the past.
Yeah. The name cracked me up because I was just like, I kept thinking about like musty drapes in a house. I was like these old shades.
These old shades gotta go.
That's kind of what I was thinking about it.
No, I thought it was all about the past. Like, that there's things you can't get rid of when you go and swap some babies and then lose track of the baby you swap.
It's very soap opera.
If I'm going to swap a baby, you better damn well believe I would have somebody on that fucking baby.
Like, what happens is, like, there's so many, like, twists and, like, it is very, very soap opera. And the one thing, too, like, we didn't really touch into it with our questions. So we've talked about it. So obviously this book, I think I felt like this was very contemporary feeling. Aside from like the no dicks. It was very contemporary feeling because everybody.
Okay, but let me clarify before you start talking. When you say contemporary, do you mean contemporary 1920, whatever?
No, I mean now. Like the dialogue in it. So aside from no dicks, and aside from like just the kind of boring, just like not boring, but like just the attention to the description and all that stuff that happens, like to put you in like the Regency era, the dialogue in this, I was just like, it is not written like I don't know, like I felt like the dialogue was very contemporary. They were very like it's snarky and a lot of like really funny fucking jokes and like just the way that our heroine acted. It felt like a modern romance novel.
Well, honestly, having seen a bunch of movies from the 20s, it felt like that to me. But when I say that, I agree with you when I talk about the dialogue.
Yeah.
The story itself felt like legit 19th century bullshit. Yeah, I
mean, no,
like
she just probably
Wilson, some, like that kind of thing. It felt like that, and it felt like it almost like it kept stuff from that if it had dumped, it could have been a faster.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've seen a ton of movies from the 20s, so I'm not just, like, trying to be presentist and talk about the 2020s. Right. I've seen lots of these movies, and they pass that shit by like, whoa, let's get started, let's go. Yeah. So, it almost felt like it had, and this is not the first, but a first very popular book that was essentially this particular kind of historical romance. Maybe right. I feel like it had to have that kind of stuff, like for legitimacy. I don't know. And
again, I think like from what we read about her is like that was her thing, is like she liked to put that kind of stuff in to bring people into that world, and
it works. It absolutely works. I'll give it absolute credit for that. It's just like, and we kind of forget, like when we read Regency romances that are written now, like we talked about when we talked about the author Martha Waters for To Heaven and Hoax. Mm-hmm. They're not about the Regency period, really. I mean, they're contemporary. They're written Regency right. for specific reasons, and they're written in this almost fandom thing. So you don't have to explain, like, what is the ton? Well, you just fucking know. you don't have to explain what people are wearing because you just fucking know. Like, there's an enormous body of work of Regency historical romances. So it's shorthand and you can skip it all. And Hayer didn't have that kind of, she wasn't able to do that because you didn't already have that stuff,
Also, back to our friend Martha Waters, I think we talked about it on social media, but she is doing, the next one is To Love and to Loathe, which is about Diana and Jeremy who hated each other.
Goodness, that's what I thought, but she couldn't say it.
So, and that's going to be out in 2021. I might be like, hey, come back on our show.
Well, I hate that. Okay, so now, and this is not the case in any other, this has to be the only genre where if there's a dude or a woman who is in a romance novel for 3 pages, you're like, well, where is their book? Because
I love those though, because I love the ones like that build like that, because what ends up happening, like I'm thinking of like, there's been like some Nora Roberts trilogies where like you get the first couple and like they're fun, but you're so ready for like that last couple, that one that you're like, yes, it's gonna be great, so I love those because I kind of have building the relationship. Like, again, you get 150 John Sanford books about one dude, so it's kind of fun to have characters repeat. And a thing I like about those too is you get a lot of one of the things that we talk about, with like the would you talk shit with the heroine, you get really good friendship building happening.
Yeah, and they actually do get to talk shit with her about the heroine.
Yeah.
My gut never likes them because I get attached to couple A. And then you bring me couple B. Well, where the fuck is couple A? No, I understand the couple A's had their story. And they've already had a happily ever after. If you were to, then you would have to do some shit on them again. So I get that, but I always still miss couple A.
There was one really...
I do like often in a book, the first book especially, I'm like, I like that dude way more. I want to hear more about that dude.
Yeah, so there was one book. This isn't like multiple couples, but it was just, I think she knew that everybody wanted one more of this one couple. There's this author, Kristen Higgins, and she wrote this book called Catch of the Day. And it was one of my favorites because she wrote a dog death better than anybody. Oh my God, I was just so emotional. And so you have this couple and they end kind of abruptly. The couple ends them just kind of getting back together. And you're like, but no, I want more of them. So in one of her other books, it's about this other couple that you haven't met, but that couple from that book ties back into it. You're you get to see their marriage. And you're like, okay, thank you. I needed to know what happened with Malone and what's her face. I've been very worried about them because you didn't give me anything. I'm
about to give you a spoiler for the Grady Hendrix book that I mentioned. You can go forward 10 seconds if you don't want to know. The dog is okay.
Okay, good. I always feel like the spoiler, nobody is ever upset about the dog is okay spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know myself, and I want you to tell me that I don't want to read a book because the older I get, you know what? There are a million books and I don't want to read your dog dies book.
I will say and hers it's done I didn't because that stuff bothers me, but it wasn't, it was a big part of the plot and I it was I appreciated it. So
had that,
but yeah, I'm excited for Martha Waters' new book and her.
That's Hershey behind Courtney. If you've wondered what makes her,
who's our co-star, my co-star, Hershey. Hey,
buddy.
Hey, hi.
Oh, look at that normal dog who's not a fucking psychopath. Sweet dog. Oh,
Hershey.
Look for the camera.
Good dogs. But
so, this has been These Old Shades. I like doing this kind of foundational book. I think we should do a few more. I've actually got I think it's a Mary Stewart for Halloween that'll be fun.
And again, maybe Peyton Place.
No, I'll do Peyton Place. I want to do Peyton Place. There's a book about Peyton Place as a phenomenon that I'm also interested in reading. But yeah,
it's fun. Sorry I keep doing this. There's a fly in my house, and I'm going to burn my house down because I hate flies more than anything.
Well, you should get some of my carnivorous plants.
Oh, yeah. Sarah has been getting the carnivorous plants. That's what your quarantine whatever has manifested in carnivorous plants. Mine was caftans, and now it's just general. Like, I look at really fancy Airbnbs. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh my gosh! Like, I've just been looking at like ones in like the Côte de Rome. Like, I've been looking at, like,
nice. Let's go, girl. Not now, but we'll go sometime. I've also been doing, like, my last bread was really, really an attractive bread.
I was looking at I was like, I wanted to get a Côte de Rome to drink just to be like, I wish I was there, but I was like, I'll get a Burgundy or a Bordeaux because it's closer to the Burgundy that they kept drinking. The best part is, like, again, back to this book, there's like insane shit happening. Like, they're all having like these like over the top conversations at breakfast, and Justin's like, he's talking to like Edward, who again hated him, or Edmund. He's like, you want some wine? And he's like, yes. So,
because they look at Evan's wife like, I'm gonna need
all the wine. Like, I felt kind of a kinship to Franny. Like, I sort of love Franny a lot because he's like, I need you to put on a big ass party, and she's like,
I have had this planned my whole life.
And then she's like, what's the budget? And he's like, there is no budget. And she's like,
oh my god.
So
she peed a little.
Yeah, it was so great. So yes, this has been These Old Shades, and we will see you next time, probably on YouTube.
You should look for our announcement post about this podcast so that you can win and see what you think about These Old Shades, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So long, y'all.
Bodice Tipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcast.